Let's talk about CI/CD. It can be a real mess, right? Well, today we're looking at a tool that promises to take all that chaos out of your software development pipelines. It's called TeamCity, and we're going to break down exactly how it plans to make your life a whole lot simpler.
So, to really get why a tool like TeamCity even exists, we got to start with a pretty common headache. If you've ever touched CI/CD, continuous integration and delivery, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's that feeling, right, where you're spending way more time fighting with configuration files than you are actually writing code.
Think about it. With so many of the older tools, you're just thrown into this universe of plugins right from the get-go. Need to connect to Git? Oh, you need a plugin for that. Need to manage credentials? Yep, another plugin. Simple commands? You guessed it, more plugins. And all this administrative busy work piles up before a developer can even think about writing a single line of actual code. It's a lot.
But what if it didn't have to be like that? What if there was a different way? Well, that's exactly where TeamCity comes in. Its whole philosophy is built around simplicity and power, right out of the box. Okay, so TeamCity's core ideas is pretty simple. Make the setup and admin work way, way less painful. You want to trigger a build automatically when you push code, with a webhook? That's just built in, no plugin hunt required. Need to connect to a Docker registry or ping a Slack channel? You just add a connection. It's that simple. All the common stuff you need every day is just there, ready to go.
And hey, if you want to skip the setup process altogether, you can. You don't even have to install it on your own servers. They have a fully managed solution called TeamCity Cloud, and you can get up and running almost instantly.
But it's not just about an easy setup. Once you're in, TeamCity is packed with some seriously powerful features, and they're all designed to make a developer's life a whole lot easier.
So let's focus on three things that really make it stand out. First, how it does configuration as code, but with a twist. Second, the way it lets you build these complex workflows called build chains. And third, a really, really cool feature for developers called personal builds.
All right, first up, configuration as code. Now, this concept isn't new. It just means your whole build pipeline is defined in a script, right? And you check that script into Git right alongside your app's code. And this is awesome because it gives you version history, you can see who changed what, and you can reuse your pipelines across different projects. Super manageable.
But here's where TeamCity does something really different. Instead of using a simple format like YAML, which you see everywhere, it uses Kotlin. And since Kotlin is a full-blown programming language, you can do so much more. You can write actual logic, create reusable functions, and tap into this huge ecosystem of existing tools. Stuff that's either super clunky or just plain impossible to do in basic YAML. And this leads to what might be one of its most flexible features. You don't have to choose between clicking around in a nice UI and writing powerful code. You can do both. You can set up your build visually, clicking buttons and filling out forms, and then TeamCity will just generate the Kotlin script for you. You get the ease of a UI with all the power and version control that comes with having it as code. It's kind of the best of both worlds.
Okay, next up, let's talk about how you can manage really complex workflows. TeamCity calls this feature build chains. Think of it like a set of dominoes. You can set them up to fall in a specific sequence, where one build triggers the next, passing its results or artifacts along the way. Or you could set them up to run in parallel. This is perfect for something like, say, testing your code on Windows, Mac, and Linux all at the same time, before you move on to the final deployment step.
Now this next one, this is a real game changer for developers. It's called personal builds. Just imagine this for a second. You can run your uncommitted code on the actual build server directly from your code editor before you even commit it. That's exactly what this does. It means you can test your changes in the real CI environment to see if they break anything, all without polluting the main branch with a bunch of work-in-progress commits. It's brilliant.
Okay, so how does all this magic actually happen? Let's peek under the hood. TeamCity's architecture is actually really clean and easy to understand.
It all starts with the TeamCity server. You can think of this as the brains of the whole operation. It's the central hub where you set up your projects, configure your builds, and see all the results in a nice, clean dashboard.
But the server itself doesn't do the actual work, the heavy lifting. For that, you have what are called build agents. If the server is the brain, these are the muscle. They're the machines that actually run the build jobs. And these agents can be anywhere, in your own data center, on a cloud server, or even running inside a Docker container.
And this is where the whole thing gets really smart and efficient. The server knows what each build needs to run. So if your job needs Docker, the server will only send it to an agent that has Docker installed. If it needs NPM, it'll find an agent with NPM. This smart dispatching means your builds always land on the right machine with the right tools, and you don't have to do a thing.
So when you understand that simple server and agent setup, it makes sense why getting your first pipeline running is, well, surprisingly easy.
I mean, it really just boils down to a few steps. 1, you connect TeamCity to your Git repository. 2, it often just figures out what kind of project you have and suggests the build steps for you. 3, you click Authorize on a build agent that has the right tools. And 4, you hit Run. That's pretty much it.
All right, so let's pull this all together. Where does TeamCity fit into the whole modern landscape of CI/CD tools?
I think TeamCity's real strength is its balance, It's got that super easy setup, but it's packed with powerful features that are already built in. It gives you that flexible, hybrid model, blending the UI with real code. And above all, everything it does seems to circle back to one thing, making developers' lives easier and more productive.
And this whole approach really taps into a bigger trend we're seeing in software development. It kind of makes you ask a fundamental question, right? Is our time better spent fighting with complex tool setups, or should our tools just get out of the way? TeamCity is clearly betting on the second one, letting teams focus less on the plumbing and more on what actually matters, building great software. All right, today we're diving into a CI/CD tool that promises to give you all the power you need, but without the usual chaos and administrative nightmares. We're talking about TeamCity.
So if you're a developer, I'm guessing this question hits a little too close to home. You just want to build, test, and ship your code, right? But instead, you spend what feels like half your life wrestling with this tangled mess of plugins and add-ons. It's a huge frustration, and it's the exact problem we're going to unpack today.
Okay, so let's start there. The first thing to get your head around is this classic pain point that tools like TeamCity were specifically designed to fix, what I like to call the configuration headache. You see, with a lot of the older CI/CD systems, pretty much every basic function, like just checking out code from Git, running a simple command, or deploying something, means you have to go find, install, and then configure some third-party plugin. This just creates a massive administrative burden, and honestly, a really fragile system that's totally dependent on this whole ecosystem of other people's tools. So how does TeamCity come at this? Well, its entire philosophy is built around a much simpler, more integrated approach from the get-go.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. On one side, you've got the old way. Core tasks need plugins, which leads to a ton of overhead and these super complex, brittle configurations. But then you look at the TeamCity side. Most of the common things you need to do are just built in, right out of the box. You want to connect to a Docker registry or use a specific version of Gradle? It's all there. No need to go hunting for third-party add-ons.
And hey, if you want to skip the setup process completely, they've got a managed cloud version. This means you can get straight to actually building your pipelines without ever having to worry about installing or maintaining the server yourself.
Okay, so we know it's simpler to set up, but what can it really do? Let's get into some of the powerful features that make it a real standout. We're going to focus on 3 absolute game changers: how it handles its configuration as code, its superpower for creating complex build chains, and a really slick feature they call personal builds. So first up, configuration as code. This is pretty much the modern standard for any serious CI/CD setup. It just means your entire build process is defined in a file that lives right there in your Git repository. It's version controlled, it's easy for your team to review, and you can reuse it across different projects.
Now this is where TeamCity does something really, really interesting. Instead of using a restrictive format like YAML, it uses Kotlin, which is a full-blown programming language. What does that mean for you? It means you can write some seriously dynamic logic. You could, say, programmatically generate build steps based on which folder in your repo has changed, or create reusable functions to deploy to a whole list of servers. It's a massive leap in flexibility.
Next up, build chains. This lets you set up dependencies between your different builds. So you can say, for instance, that a deployment build should only ever run if all the test builds that came before it were successful. Or, and this is super cool, you can use it to run the exact same test suite at the same time across Windows, macOS, and Linux in parallel.
And this feature, this is a huge productivity booster. With a simple plugin for your IDE, you can trigger a personal build of your changes that you haven't even committed yet, on the actual CI server. This lets you see if your new code is going to pass all the big server-side checks before you push it to the main branch.
you end up catching issues way earlier in the game.
Okay, so we've seen what it can do, but let's talk about how it all works. Let's peek under the hood at the architecture, which is actually refreshingly simple and clean. Everything starts with the TeamCity server. Think of this as the command center, the brains of the whole operation. It's where the web UI lives, it's where all your project configurations and build history are stored, and it's the thing that decides which builds need to run and when.
And then you have the build agents. These are the workhorses, the muscle. An agent is just any machine. It could be on-prem, in the cloud, wherever, with the TeamCity agent software installed on it. Its only job is to get commands from the server and do the heavy lifting, compiling code, running tests, building Docker images. You can put these agents literally anywhere you want.
And getting started is really easy on the wallet. The free professional version of TeamCity lets you connect up to 3 of these build agents without paying a dime. That's more than enough power to run a pretty serious CI/CD setup for free. So, with that simple server and agent model in mind, how hard is it to actually get your first pipeline up and running?
Turns out, it's surprisingly straightforward. First, you just connect TeamCity to your code repository. Second, you start defining your build steps through the UI. Telling it to run a Gradle task or build a Docker image. Third, you just authorize an agent to connect to your server. And that's pretty much it. You're ready to run your build.
Now, here's the really crucial point. You don't have to manually assign builds to specific agents. TeamCity is smart. When you kick off a build, the server automatically scans all of its connected agents to find one that has the right tools installed, whether that's Docker or NPM or a specific Java version. It finds a compatible agent and sends the job there, all on its own. This saves a huge amount of manual configuration.
So let's bring this all together. When you step back and look at the whole package, what does TeamCity really represent in the world of modern software development?
The key takeaways are pretty clear. It's all about simplicity, by building core features right in instead of making you rely on plugins. It gives you real power through things like its Kotlin configuration and build chains. It's incredibly developer-friendly with features like personal builds. And that clean architecture makes it flexible enough to run just about anywhere.
And this kind of leads us to a final, bigger thought. Tools like TeamCity really seem to be pointing towards a future where we developers can spend way less time configuring our tools and more time actually creating things. So, is the ultimate goal of DevOps to make the tools so seamless that they almost disappear? That's something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.